everyone, this is Bea from Ashbea Music and welcome back to our channel. Today we will be looking at how the rhythm section in the Music Aptitude Test works. But before that, let's discuss the difference between rhythm and pulse, often referred to as beat. Pulse or beat can be perceived as the heartbeat of music that you hear. The moment we hear music, the beat or pulse sits underneath it. Pulse is constant and it can be felt simply by tapping or clapping to the music we hear. Beat in music is similar to a heartbeat. It can be felt, not necessarily heard. Rhythm, on the other hand, is a pattern of different value notes, for example, short, long, very long, and changing the order of these different value notes changes the sound of the rhythm. The more the values of notes change or alternate, the catchier and more memorable the pattern becomes. The speed and timing of the rhythm is determined by the speed of the pulse. In the rhythm section of the Music Aptitude Test, a short rhythm of 4 beats or pulses will be played. Then the rhythm is played again, either exactly the same or with a change in one of the beats. The student has to determine whether the rhythm was the same both times or if it changed, which one of the 4 beats was different. There are 10 questions in this section. So let's hear an example of the kind of question you will get in this test. So were you able to identify where the change was? Or was the second playthrough the same as the first? The easiest situation you can find yourself in is when the rhythm is played the same way both times. Let's listen to an example. Here are a couple of rules to stick to when identifying the changes in rhythm. Rule number 1. Use your fingers to emphasize the beat number and feel the speed of the beat by moving your fingers. Why is it important? Using your fingers is very visual and also physical, and therefore when a small change in the second pattern occurs, you will not only be able to feel it when moving your fingers to the speed of the beat, but you will also see the finger numbers. Since our body is able to perceive pulse in music so naturally and so strongly, you should take advantage of this super skill when working out your rhythm section. So let's focus on the 4 beats that you will hear initially before the rhythmic pattern is played for the first time. So let's hear it. Notice that I moved my fingers to the speed of the pulse. It is a good idea to immediately perceive how fast the beats are moving, because that will determine how fast the rhythmic pattern will move as well. And you can practice that by also moving your body slightly to the speed of the beat. 1, 2, 3, 4. So now you're really beginning to feel the speed of this pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Please remember that the speed can change. You can have a much faster pulse, for example, and you really need to tap into that beat as soon as you hear it. The pulse can also be much slower. The slower tempo can be a little bit challenging to perceive and to keep your fingers moving at the right time because there are larger gaps between the numbers. Let's hear another example of a slow tempo. Keep your fingers moving repeatedly even after you heard the 4 beats. 1, 2, 3, 4. I noticed I was moving my body as well as my fingers at the same time. Keep it going just to practice it a little bit longer. This is what is going to help you identify the small changes in rhythm once you begin to feel the pulse. Rule number 2. Try to hear the first pattern in your head really quickly and compare it to the second pattern. You can also sing it out loud, but remember that you will not be able to vocalize your patterns in the actual exam. Use your fingers to determine where you felt the slight change after singing it out loud or hearing it in your mind. Rule number 3. Don't overthink what you heard and trust your instinct. Some rhythmic patterns can be overwhelming to analyze and understand on the spot. Therefore, this is the time to go with the feeling of what you heard as opposed to process all the details of it. As soon as you felt something strange or off about one of the beats during the second rhythmic playthrough, trust that feeling. Things to watch out for. One of the challenges can be when the rhythm changes just before the start of a new beat. For example, a small change occurs just at the end of beat 1 and right before the start of beat 2. This can be confusing as it can often mislead you by thinking that the change happened at the beginning of beat 2 as opposed to at the end of beat 1. Let's hear an example of this. Another thing to be careful about is when a slight delay occurs on one of the notes in the rhythm. A tiny delay also means that the rhythm changed. Let's hear an example of this. Sometimes the change can be because in the second playthrough, 2 beats had the same sounding pattern which was already used in one of the beats in the first playthrough. Another challenge can be when an additional note is added or removed from the pattern. So if it feels like one of the beats had an additional note, or it felt like one of the notes was not there during the second playthrough, that's also considered a change in rhythm. So what things could you be doing to practice rhythm during your preparation? Well, you can listen to any piece of music and try to vocalize the rhythm you heard by singing it twice to see if you memorized it correctly. This is to train your brain to store rhythmic patterns into a short-term memory as quickly as possible. Don't forget to watch our free music aptitude test videos on our channel, which helped a lot of our students with their preparation. All the links are listed below in the description. Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you wish to receive more information, and feel free to write us if you have any questions. Thank you for watching and all the best with your preparation.